I darn near locked my door on the finest man I ever met. I've never told this one the whole way through, but it's been sitting with me lately, so let me tell it.
It's a good one, honey. Go on.
I gotta take you back a ways, though. Before this rig, before my knees went bad. Back when Maggie and me were still pulling that old trailer, Old Blue, we called her, behind my pickup, just heading wherever the empty roads went. This was a dozen years ago now, up in the high country of Montana. Big, empty country, you drive an hour and don't pass another car. Just grass and fence posts and a whole lot of sky. And we were happy. Lord, we were happy. We'd been out 3 weeks, hadn't seen a stoplight in 2 of them, and Maggie had her window down, singing along to the radio.
Patsy Cline. He leaves out that he was singing too.
I was not.
You were. Off key.
Anyway, we were happy, and that's usually about when something goes wrong, isn't it? Things go smooth too long, and the trouble finds you. Now, before I get into it, 3 things to keep in mind. 1, back then, I thought I was a real good judge of people. 30 years running work crews, I figured I could size a man up from across a parking lot. 2, my dad raised me to watch out for a certain kind of man. And 3, there was a storm coming. Keep that storm in mind. It matters. So, late afternoon, the light going long and orange, and I feel it through the wheel before I hear it, a little shudder. Then the belt goes. If you've ever heard a serpentine belt let go, you don't forget it. Sounds like a cat went through a box fan.
Charming.
Well, it does. Whole dash lights up, wheel goes heavy, and I coast us onto the shoulder of a road that hadn't seen another truck in an hour. Pop the hood and I know right off. Belt's shredded, and the bracket that holds the tensioner, rusted through, snapped clean in 2. Now, I carry a spare belt, always have, but a spare belt's no good to you when the bracket it rides on is in 2 pieces in your hand. So, I get out the phone, 1 bar, then no bars. I'm holding it up over my head, walking circles on the shoulder like a fool. Nothing. We were a long way from anybody.
And it was getting cold. You could feel it turn.
She's right. Sun goes down behind those mountains, and it takes the warmth right with it. And off to the west, that's where the storm was. I'd watched it build all afternoon, telling myself it'd go north of us. It wasn't going north of us. Big blue-black wall, lightning inside it, the cold smell coming off it ahead of the rain. So, now I've got a dead truck, my wife, a dog.
We had Bo back then, before Scout.
And old Bo, God rest him, asleep in the back seat through the whole thing. Storm coming, no way to call anybody, and the dark coming down with the cold. That's where we were. That's how alone we were. And then, way back down the road behind us, headlights. One set, coming slow, and I'll be honest, my first feeling wasn't relief. Out there, dark coming on, my wife next to me, first thing I did was check where my tire iron was.
Mine wasn't relief.
No. Hers wasn't. Hold on to that too. So the headlights come up slow and pull in behind us and just sit there a minute. Engine running. Old truck, I could tell by the sound. Big V8, no muffler to speak of. And what light was left, I could see it was primer gray. That flat gray of a truck somebody's been working on and never finished. No shine to it at all. Door opens, and a man gets out, and he just kept getting out. You know the type, some fellas, the door opens and they keep coming. Had to be 6'4", shoulders like a door frame, shaved head going gray, and even from there I could see his arms were covered. Tattoos, faded blue, the old kind. Prison is what I thought. God forgive me.
That's exactly what you thought.
It was. And I kind of drifted over, put myself between him and Maggie, and he stops, 15 feet off, doesn't come any closer, and he says, voice like gravel, belt? That's it, 1 word, belt. I say, belt and bracket. Bracket's done. He nods, slow, looks past me, at Maggie, the trailer, the storm, and says, you're not driving out of here tonight. Not a threat, just a man reading it the same as I was, just true.
And here's what I saw, the part he missed, 'cause he was watching the man's hands. I was watching his eyes. That big, scary, tattooed-up man, his eyes went to me, sitting there scared, and they went soft. soft and sorry, like it bothered him that he was frightening me just by being big. I knew right then. I poked Hank in the back.
She said, "Henry, stand down."
I did.
43 years, and she's never once called me Henry unless she meant it. So I stood down. A little, not all the way. Not yet. I'm telling you straight, because the story's no good if I make myself out better than I was. So this man, Roy, though we didn't get his name for a while, walks back to that truck and drops the tailgate, and I swear it was like a hardware store back there. Tools and coffee cans, coils of wire, a toolbox the size of a footlocker, comes back with a work light and a bag of I don't know what. And the rain starts. Not gentle either, comes in sideways. Temperature drops another 10 degrees in a minute, and the lightning's close now. You count 1 Mississippi and don't make it to 2. And here's the thing I'll never forget. Before he bent over that engine, before he did one thing, he took off his coat, big canvas work coat, carried it over and handed it to Maggie through the window, said, "Ma'am, it's going to be a cold one."
He gave me his coat in the rain before he fixed a thing. Yeah.
Take your time.
I'm all right. Go on.
And then that man fixed my truck in a thunderstorm. In the dark, in the cold, rain running down the back of his neck. Better than an hour. He didn't have my bracket. Course he didn't. Nobody would, so he made one. Piece of flat steel, couple hose clamps, and a part off his own truck. Took a part off his own rig to get us running. And the whole time he barely said 10 words. I'd hand him a wrench, he'd grunt. I tried to make conversation, nerves, and he just worked. Big scarred hands, moving careful in that little circle of light, storm coming apart over our heads. Now, while he's under there, I noticed 2 things. Keep 'em in mind. First, on the knuckles of his right hand, in that faded blue, there were letters. Couldn't read 'em in the dark, but I saw 'em. Second, the tip of his left ring finger was gone. Old injury. Healed long ago. Both of those come back around. Hang on to 'em. He gets her running, wipes his hands on a rag that was already filthy, and I reach for my wallet. Course I do. What else do you do? Pull out everything I had, $80-90, and hold it out. And he looks at that money like I handed him a snake. Says, "No. Just no." And something in how he said it told me not to push. But I'm stubborn, you know me, so I push. I say, "You saved us out here. Take it. Buy your kids something." And something crossed his face when I said kids, like a shadow. And he says, real quiet, "You don't pay me. You pay it forward. That's the deal." That's the deal. I didn't know what he meant yet. He led us into town, 20 miles, his taillights ahead of us the whole way through the rain, slow, making sure we made it. Little town called Coal Creek, 1 blinking light, gas station closed for the night, and a diner still open, the Wagon Wheel. Only warm thing for 50 miles. We go in, soaked through, and the woman behind the counter knows him. "Evening, Roy," she says, "easy as you like." And that told me something. You learn a lot about a man from how the late shift waitress says his name. She wasn't scared of him. She was glad to see him.
She brought him coffee without him asking, black and a slice of pie. Set it down like it was settled a long time ago.
So we sit down, the 3 of us, Maggie still in his coat. And now, warm, safe, in the light, now he talks. A little. And I asked him, worked up the nerve and just asked, "Roy, why'd you stop? Dark coming on? Country like that? You didn't know us from Adam?" And he turned his coffee cup around a couple times in those big hands. And he told us. Said about 15 years before, he'd been the one broke down. Up on a mountain pass, dead of winter, and his whole life coming apart. He'd lost his boy a few years before that. And after, he lost the rest of it the slow way. The bottle, the job, the wife who couldn't follow him down where he'd gone. And that night on the pass, cold, broke down. He wasn't real sure he was going to bother getting the truck started again. I'll let you take that how you need to.
We understood it.
And he says headlights come up behind him. Old rancher, fella named Bill, 70 if he was a day, stops on that pass in the dead of winter for a stranger twice his size, tows him down, takes him home, feeds him at his own table, puts him up in a warm bunkhouse. And in the morning, when Roy tries to pay him, same as I tried to pay Roy, old Bill won't take a dime. And Roy asks him, "Then how do I pay you back?" And Bill says, Well, you don't pay me back. You pay it forward. Somewhere down the road, there'll be somebody else broke down. You'll know what to do. That's where it came from. That's the deal. Roy had spent 15 years driving those empty roads at night looking for people broke down, not by accident, on purpose. Closest thing to church that man had, paying off a debt to old Bill by handing it to strangers who'd never know his name.
Tell them what he said about his boy.
He said, when I asked, careful as I could, his boy would have been about the age of our Danny. And he said, way I figure it, every person I pull out of a ditch, that's my boy getting pulled out of one somewhere I can't reach. I didn't have a thing to say to that. And I always have something to say. Not then. We talked till near midnight. He warmed up, little by little, smiled once or twice, and when that big hard face smiled, it was something. Told us where to get a real bracket in the morning, 2 towns over, shook my hand, swallowed it up, calluses bigger than mine, and walked out into what was left of the rain. That primer gray truck rumbled off, and we figured that was that. Got a room over the diner, slept like the dead, and the next morning's when I found out who he really was, and it's not what you're thinking, wasn't what I was thinking either. We come down for breakfast. Morning light now, place half full of ranchers and road crew, and the bell over the door rings, and in walks a county sheriff's deputy, young guy, hat in his hand, looking around the room. And my stomach just dropped, because all those old suspicions came right back. The tattoos, the scars, the way he wouldn't take money, driving those roads alone at night. Here comes the law looking for somebody, and every ugly thing my dad ever taught me to assume about a man like Roy stood right up and said, see? You knew it. And the deputy's going table to table asking, and I catch it. He says, anybody know a big fella? Drives an old primer gray 3/4 ton? And I about stopped breathing, because that was Roy, no question. Law's hunting him, and there I am, ashamed I ever doubted him, and now feeling like a fool for trusting him.
And you stood up.
I did. Don't rightly know what I meant to do. Defend him? Turn him in? I didn't know. But I stood up and I said, Deputy, I might know the man you're after. What did he do? And the deputy looks at me, and his face, it's not a hunting face. I had it all wrong. It's soft, almost hopeful, and he says, do? Mister, he didn't do anything wrong. 3 weeks back, out on the interstate, a minivan rolled and caught fire. Mother and 2 little kids pinned inside, and a big fella in a primer gray truck stopped, went into that fire, and pulled all 3 of them out. Burned his hands doing it. And then, before anybody could get his name, before the troopers even showed, he was gone. Just gone. We've been looking for him 3 weeks. County wants to honor him. That mother wants to look him in the eye and say thank you. And we can't find the man to tell him he's a hero. The man that whole county was hunting. They weren't hunting him to lock him up. They were hunting him to say thank you. And he'd slipped off into the dark before they could. Same as he slipped off from us. Same as he'd take a part off his own truck for a stranger and never leave a name. Same as old Bill on that mountain. Burned his hands pulling those kids out of the fire. And 2 nights later, those same burned hands fixed my truck in the freezing rain. And I'd stood in front of my wife to keep him back. Counted out money to make us even. Looked at the letters on his knuckles and thought the worst thing you can think about a man.
Tell them the letters.
Deputy gave us his name. We drove out past where he was staying, hoping to catch him, tell him something. He was already gone. Moved on down the road. Never saw Roy again. But I'd seen those knuckles up close in the work light. And once I knew what kind of man he was, the letters came back to me clear. Faded blue, one to a knuckle, on the hand that pulled those kids out of the fire. B-I-L-L. Bill. He'd put that old rancher's name right on his hand, so he'd never forget the debt. So he'd carry it everywhere he went.
And the finger, the missing fingertip.
Lost it years back, he'd said. Working. Nothing to do with any of this. But you want to know what I think about? Every time my hands ache out here by the fire, that man gave away everything. His coat, part off his own truck, the skin off his hands, his boy, and he never once asked to be paid back for any of it. Just kept passing it on, down one dark road after another, to people who'd never know his name. So, here's the one thing I've got for you tonight, and then we'll let the fire burn down. I spent 30 years sure I could read a man, and the best, bravest, gentlest man I ever came across, I took for a danger to my wife because he was big and poor and marked up and quiet. I had it exactly backwards. You can't read a man by his rough edges. The hands that scare you might be the ones that'd go into a fire for you. And a good turn somebody does you. That's not a bill you pay back. It's a debt. Only way to settle it is to pass it on down the road to the next fella broke down in the dark. That's the deal. I told you at the start I darn near locked my door on the finest man I ever met. I don't lock it anymore. When we see somebody pulled over now, and we always stop every time, Maggie won't let me pass one by if I wanted to.
I won't.
And I leave the door open, and I think about Roy, and about old Bill on that mountain I never met, and I figure somewhere out there tonight there's a primer gray truck on some empty road looking for somebody to help, and I hope when my time comes I've passed enough of it on to be square with men like that. Fire's getting low, Maggie's getting cold, even with the blanket.
I'm always cold.
Tonight, an old scout there slept through the best story I've got. Thanks for sitting with us. Means a lot. 2 old folks, a fire, and somebody out there willing to listen. If you've got somebody like Roy in your own life, somebody you misjudged, somebody who did you a good turn and slipped off before you could thank them, tell me about it down below. I read them, all of them. And if you'll have us, pull your chair back up tomorrow night. We'll keep a seat by the fire. Good night. Drive safe out there. And if you see somebody broke down, well, you know what to do now.
Good night.